Martina Muttke, who is a Harvard graduate from the AMP flagship program. After completing her medical studies in Germany and Italy with a doctorate, she worked as a senior executive in FTSE 100 healthcare companies and lived and worked all around the globe. More recently, Martina has been following her passion in developing global leaders to translate their knowledge into commercial success. She coaches and mentors CEOs, top executives, and startups. And she's a keynote speaker around the world, sharing her unique message on leadership and neuroscience. Now, before I hand over to Martina, or I just want to make my own personal confession, this is the second time we're recording this interview, because the first time I forgot to press record. So Martina, thank you so much for coming on again. And if you would like to tell us a little about yourself and about your most recent creation that you're working on right now.
Thanks, Debs, and I'm happy that we can do that together. It's important to me, and it's important to me to make you happy also, because I think it's a nice thing what you're doing. So I don't need to speak too much about myself. I have morphed or moved from being a medical doctor in the beginning of my career because I was just fascinated with human beings, and besides that, my grandmother owned a pharmacy and I found drugs really exciting. I have morphed from that into an executive with pharma, and after many, many years being a senior leader in pharma and healthcare, leading teams all over the world, I noticed I was very much in my comfort zone. And there's people who spend their whole life in the comfort zone, and there's people who just then wish to do something else. And since the future is still hopefully quite large for me, I decided it's time to go out and do something with the experiences I had gathered so far, but also do something new, which caters more to the things I have mostly liked and the needs which come from those experiences I have made. And this is dealing with people, developing people, and helping people to become the best they can be. And that led me to do, still while I was working full-time, do a coaching education. And now I'm doing that with pleasure. I'm coaching and mentoring leaders, senior leaders, CEOs and teams of startups, and do that together with what you have just mentioned, with expanding, exploring my interest and teaching about the wonderful topic of neuroscience and leadership, because there's a lot of parallels to how our brain works and how we can, as leaders, utilize this to become much better leaders and have much happier people to lead.
Tell me, because you said you wanted to do something new. Were you afraid, taking a leap from corporate world, well paid, respected, to do something new, and whilst it was following your passion, were you a little bit nervous there, or were you just ready to go and dive straight into it?
You know, there is a couple of models that tell you how your brain gets into threat states, and this can be different social or physical triggers which are perceived by your brain in the same way. So let's say when I tell myself I now leave my job, I lose my position as whatever group vice president thingy, and this is a big threat to my brain. Actually, I may realize it or not. So even if I'm not obviously scared, my brain definitely is quite scared about that. Then the moving from the certainty of having a paycheck to not having a paycheck is a total threat for my brain, and it probably has yelled at me many times and said, wait, are you sure you want to do that? Stop it. So yes, I think on many levels I have been consciously or subconsciously quite scared about that.
And how did you, so knowing, I love how you speak about your brain and you as kind of separate items. My brain was probably scared. I wasn't scared, but my brain might have been scared. Tell me a little bit more about how you think about the brain and how it's, you think about three brains. So tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, that when you start having a bit more time, and this happens when you're not in a full-time job anymore, you devote a bit of your time and interest to, if you're a good person, to some social connections, but you also start learning. And I love learning, and my fascination has always been about or the hidden capabilities of the brain. And so I started when I was 10, reading all kind of thrillers, which are from scientific to science fiction to the horror world of Stephen King and Dean Koontz. I still do that today, I must confess. And everything that the brain may do if we have a way to explore what's really in it and how to make it work, that fascinated me. And I remember when I read this little book, Ordering from the Universe. This is actually making your brain requesting things to put into your future, which you just put simply as an order to the universe. That was super fascinating, and I tried that out with a couple of examples. And throughout my life, being a MD, having studied medicine, so being a scientist, I see that there's a lot of unused potential. For example, they now found, or they probably know that in animals there's a kind of telepathic capabilities. The way that sparrows, when you see them in hundreds and thousands, and that they within 1 minute change direction, and all at the same time, there was a wondering if they have a different way to communicate, which is a kind of telepathic possibility. So all this fascinated me. And then quite lately, there's so much being spoken about neuroscience. Neuroscience suddenly becomes the new hype, but just because there's a lot more things you can discover about the brain. You can see what happens in the brain. We know that the brain can be changed, it's changing every day. So I started learning, reading a lot about this. And at one moment I said, this is great. People should know about that. It would help them so much in dealing with themselves and dealing with people, for leadership, for not getting your people stressed out, for bringing motivation to your teams, and to give people what they really crave in our times, but especially the new generations regard much higher than any kind of monetary reward, is purpose, giving them purpose, sense of achievement, motivate. This is all stuff which is made in your brain. It's endorphins, hormones, which are being released and make you feel this way. So I found that super fascinating. And when I find something really fascinating, I like to speak about it, and I like that people understand it in the way that I understand it. And I get really angry when I see it being communicated in books and articles with either really stupid or too complicated. So I decided I want to speak and teach about this in a simple way. And of course, the best way would be also to have a book that explains this in a bit more detail, in a simple way, and in a humorous way, and entertaining one.
Well, tell us about your book. So how long have you been working on it? What's it about? What's it called?
So the book is called Build Better Brains, a leader's guide to the world of neuroscience. And it is, with your help as my book coach, whenever I tell proudly that I have completed a book in, I think it was around 9 months. So that's amazing, actually. But I must say, in hindsight, it was 9 months of a lot of work. And again, without having a person like you holding me accountable on one side, but giving me the tools and the guidance on how to, because this is an area I have never explored. You have to recognize when you're ignorant, but you also have then to be able to just say, I want to learn, but also I need help. So I needed help, and you were there, and I'm very happy that with your help you could complete the book project. And now I have a book, which was a lot of work. I feel a lot of pride, and yeah, I'm looking forward to have it published.
Do you know when it's going to be published, more or less, when we're going to be able to see it and buy it?
I think it seems to move quite quickly. So there is this English term about a couple of months, which I learned in my life can mean everything from 4 weeks to basically 2 years. So let's call it a couple of months, with the hope that's on the left-hand side of the spectrum. And I'm sure it will be just a couple of months.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, and so when you were, how I'm hearing this is you as you decided you wanted to write a book, you wanted to write a book because you felt a need for, and you felt angry when people were communicating about neuroscience and the brain in bad ways or boring ways. So tell us about that, that thing that irritated you enough to make you want to write a book, to make you want to produce information that was much better than was already out there.
You know, maybe it comes because, first of all, my mother was a teacher, and I had this experience. I was giving lots of presentations when I was in the corporate world, and I enjoyed it very much. And I remember when I was in China, in Beijing, speaking about really complex disease and the treatment options and the research on that. And I tried to put it in words so that the audience, which was a lot of press people, could understand it also as non-medically educated people. And then the moderator, who was a very prestigious professor from a local university, he came to me and said, "This was great, you should be a teacher." And that was the biggest compliment I received in my life. I think for me it was very important. So when I see that there is information about the brain, about all these things like nootropics. Can you pimp your brain? Can you hack your brain? That makes me angry, because I think, no, no, no. And I think about the movie from Luc Besson with Lucy, where her brain is being pimped and in the end she's just being blown up into a computer. So it's scary. Why do you scare people? The brain is a wonderful organ and we don't know it. That's the second thing. Why shouldn't we just start getting a little bit information about this box on top of our head, which we don't know? We know everything about how to cut our nails in wonderful shapes and how to make our eyes green or blue, but we don't know what happens in there. So it's so important. So let's get a look into that. So I read a lot of books about neuroscience, because basically it was neuroscience I wanted to speak about in the first place. And many of these books were so complex. They were so scientific that I thought, oh my God, these are so intelligent people, and all these thousands of references. And there's 1,000 more books that they have as a background information. And I got lost, and I just was forcing myself through these books. And then I had some books where there was one principle being the epitome and the epiphany of everything. And I thought, no, that's not right. That's too simple. You're fooling people. And then there were books where I just noted that somebody did not have any idea about the medical background. And I also felt this is not correct, that people are being misguided. So I want to give something which has a little bit of everything and provides a useful angle and takes the facts but explains them in a manner that everybody can understand them, and then put this into a setting which is familiar to me, and this is leading people and organizations.
That's brilliant. So if I can just paraphrase, the information that was out there that people had to read or to consume was either too complex, too scientific, too referenced, very dry, and was missing the point. So you could see a need for something that was a bit more relevant, light-hearted, and slightly less heavy.
Yeah, exactly. A bit more entertaining and not esoteric though.
Okay. So when you started thinking about writing a book, what did you do? And you said you'd already said that you read lots on neuroscience. What did you do next?
Yeah, I mean, I learned, right? I learned to put pieces together, and I needed to see how much information do you need to write a book. And I think this is a super critical question, because thinking about some books I had read, you would need like 3 studies to start writing a book. So you can do that. And I have a friend who actually is working since 10 years on a book, and he just told me, one of his footnotes is 2 pages long. So he's getting lost in all the information which is there and which he desperately tries to fit into a book. Do you need that? So I think that the biggest decision you need to make becoming an author is, how much do I need to know? How much do you want to put in there? And what is really relevant? And of course, in order to do that, you need to at some stage say, stop, I have learned enough. This is now what is useful and what needs to be the basis of everything.
That's a brilliant question, because it's a real challenge for smart people is that they could carry on researching, they could carry on reading, they could carry on watching the podcast, they could carry on learning. How do you know, how do you decide when stop, when enough is enough?
I think there my kind of the way I am helps me a bit, because I've always been the 80% person, whilst the many people in my surrounding, especially scientists, are more the 120% people. So I live with this little bit of risky factor that I'm missing out on something, and I decided that's fine. If I'm missing out on 100 gazillion of little things, that's what other people write about. But for me, it was enough until I got to the point where suddenly whatever I read, heard, podcasts, read articles, books, all information I gathered about the world of neuroscience and leadership models, for example, I suddenly started to find the same things again, put in different phrases, books, models. And you think, but this they called it like this last time, but here they called it like that, but it's the same thing. And then you feel kind of a bit of confused and betrayed, and just having this sensation of that has been there before, oh no, not you again, is making me bored. And for me, a sign that I should just stop learning what I'm learning, doing what I'm doing, is when I start getting bored. So that's what I did.
Excellent. If you could go back and do this whole process again, would you change anything?
I think probably not, Debs. Only I probably would follow all the guidances of people who have advised me about becoming an authority in this field, and think about growing a real network, or being more present on Facebook, on all the social media, LinkedIn, Twitter. It certainly is no harm when you build up a community before writing a book, because then you have something directly which will benefit from your efforts, right? So I have done it. I've started to do that a little bit during, before, not so extensively. So, but this is certainly some recommendation I would give. Build your community. Who wants to read the book, and who wants to see who you are before?
Excellent. Okay. So, what are you working on right now? Is there anything that you're working on new, different, unusual?
I have started to make the book into modules for workshops, because I have presented the topic in a very short 1 hour session. And of course, it's only a little glimpse of what's in the book. And there's so much more exciting things in the book that I started to make modules out of the book. And I have basically 6 teaching modules, which as first thing, I'll probably start teaching. I have a request from an Indian university group who wants to present this as a little extracurricular seminar to their students. So I'm going to test that. And I mean, you need to test how the audience perceives that. And I'm going to test a couple of exposure points for this topic and for my book.
Brilliant. My philosophy on how we create things is we start off with some like chaos over here of the things that are going on in our head, and we put lots of input in. Then we have to go through a constraints process and to get to the creation. But once we've got to that creation, so your creation was the book, one of my things that I love encouraging clients to do is to recreate, to reuse, recycle, upcycle. So I love that you're reusing all of the work that you put into the book to create these modules, to create these teaching modules for the university. Does it feel different creating modules from the book, or because before you were doing speeches on the ideas that you put into the book? How does it feel? You sort of gone around the loops a few times, this creation loop? How does it feel to you?
I would say that there's no quite philosophical answer, which I will give you. If you love these things you put into writing or into presentations, you get more and more excited, because again, a book is compiling knowledge, putting it into some palatable pieces, and you want to present it, but it's also new for you. It's still like 300 pages. And every time I discover something new on how I want to present it, speak about it. So if this is really exciting for you and you have the right topic, then it's always new, it's always exciting, and it will never get boring for you or for your audience.
Yeah, I love that. I want to go back a bit and deconstruct a little bit more of what you said earlier. One of the things you said was you want, with the modules that you're delivering to the Indian University, that you want to test, you want to see the exposure points, and you want to test how they go down. How much testing do you do in general for your ideas and your creations?
I think you have to jump into the cold water. You can, you can. There is this nice saying from Kung Fu Panda. You may know that from the movie. Today, tomorrow, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is the mystery. Today is a gift. That's why we call it present. So testing can only be good in the present. It can be some totally different output in the future. And whatever was in the past has been done already, maybe in different ways. So I like to test with very different audiences. I gave this chapters of the book and even the full book, the full manuscript, to very different people, because I think what is good to have a test with people who are not your key audience, but people where you really want some critical feedback, or even that they tell you this is total, this is all just nonsense, or this is too high level, or this is too whatever. But if you get a feeling that people just like something about that, then this gives you confidence. And you need this confidence because you need to stay on track and motivated when you have a project, you have the dream you start with to bring this message into the world about neuroscience and leadership, to become a speaker, go out and teach, speak. That's the dream. Then after the dream, you make it a project, and the project is the presentations and the book. That's your project, and then you may be able to realize your dream. To do that, you need to test your dream and to test the project, and this gives you little pieces of satisfaction all on the way, which may be a very long way because the book is just the start. And every time you test something with success, this gives your brain a little kick of dopamine, which is the hormone that keeps your reward cycle activated and brings more motivation to you and keeps you going. So testing, asking, trying is part of it. And of course you can fail, but you can also succeed. And this is then what will keep you going.
Tell us a bit more about the dopamine reward cycle. How can we, to use the phrase that you don't like, but how can we hack that? How can we actually increase the dopamine reward cycle? How can we do that?
Yeah, so it's quite a little bit of a nasty and sometimes dangerous thing, right? And Facebook is the last one who figured out this dopamine reward cycle very well, because if you do something, an action, and somebody gives you a like, it gives you a praise, even chocolate, because chocolate directly induces also this reward cycle and the dopamine. Your brain gets an activation of its pleasure center, and the pleasure center activates other structures which then are involved in releasing the so-called neurotransmitter dopamine, which then is being floated into your system, and you feel good, you feel nice, rewarded, and content, and you want to keep that feeling because this is motivation, this is good. Since you want to keep that, you look for what was that gave me that feeling, and you remember, it was that like on Facebook, or it was a piece of chocolate, or it was the praise from my boss, or it was the praise about, yes, you would be a good teacher, or you should do these things more often, or I liked what you said. So keep this dopamine reward cycle activated for a leader is extremely important, because sometimes, first of all, everybody needs one thing, and that is continuously to be rewarded. Otherwise, we would just not start new things and take risks and be courageous and not get anywhere. And everybody would start procrastinating. So it's very important that you learn how can you give people in your daily life, in your work, and yourself daily rewards.
Give us 3 tips for how we can do that to ourselves, because a lot of the people listening will be solos, They will be working at home in front of their computer. How can we do that to ourselves to avoid the Facebook kitten video likes?
Well, there's some things which we all like, even if it's just to get another cup of coffee or get a piece of chocolate, or you go for a walk with your dog, which just is relaxing you. I had in my studies, I had some friend, she was just happy when she could fit in half an hour of a hot bath for herself, right? Take a book, allow yourself half an hour of reading your favorite krimi. I myself reward myself with naps. I love naps. So I go on the sofa, take my dog, and we nap. And this is my reward after I have done something for a couple of hours.
Fantastic. Okay, that's brilliant. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to tell us?
I think it's great that I had the chance to work in this project. And again, you need a partner in crime. Don't try to go it alone. So that's my recommendation. And there is help out there. And if you have the help which I had with you, this is something, then you can become successful. And your chances of success are much higher if you don't think you are able to do everything yourself. And if you recognize you need help, and if then you start looking for help and just embrace people who want to help you in your journey.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, I've got one final question for you, and I'm asking everybody this question. It's, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. For the first time. Oh my God. Yeah, very good question. And how long does it normally take for somebody to answer you that question?
Long. Some people just can't do it. The reason why I'm asking it, and I'm asking lots of people this question all over the place at the moment, is because I found myself getting into routines. And so I was finding myself in the echo chamber and hearing the same things and doing the same things. And whilst I like routine because it helps me get stuff done, it was also stifling me. So I kept thinking, okay, I need to do something new. So I've been asking everybody, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh yeah, I can tell you today at 2:00, I gave a team workshop, a coaching team workshop, and teaching a team on how they should use coaching with their people. And I, for the first time, went into such a workshop without any preparation.
Wow.
And it felt very good, and it was even better because I knew 80% of the knowledge I do have, the rest is going to be improvised, and this 20% improvisation made it.
So that was kind of exciting then, using the 20%, great. That would have like, well, from a neuroscientist's point of view, neurological point of view, what was happening in your brain with that 20% that you didn't know that you had to improvise?
I think it activates a couple of things, which are this happiness hormone, serotonin, because it makes you happy to be just on your own, creative, and you can let go. It activates adrenaline and endorphins. Endorphins are dulling the pain. So whatever you think is happening, your endorphins keep you excited and happy, and adrenaline put you in a powerful, energy loaded mode. And then the serotonin, the serotonin, when it goes well, when you notice after 5 minutes that yes, this was a good decision. So you have all good hormones coming together in that time.
Excellent. Okay, right. Is there anything else you want to tell us?
No, all
okay.
Fine.
Let's wrap it up there. So Martina, where can people get in touch with you? How can they find out more about you?
My webpage, www.martinamuttke.com, is the best way at the moment. And I will very shortly also post the possibility there where people can sign up when they want to receive my book.
And there's a test on there, isn't there? They can do.
Yeah, and that's a fun thing, that people can test their leadership style, because my book speaks about a new leadership model, which is about the gardener, the captain, and the magician. And without telling too much, it's quite a fun test to discover what is your innate preferred leadership style. So go for it. It's on the webpage.
We can go there and just try and find out what our innate leadership style is from your test.
Exactly.
And that's on martinamuttke.com, yeah?
It is.
Fantastic. Okay, Martina, thank you so much. And we'll speak again soon. Ciao.
Very good. Bye-bye.